You sit and you wonder. You wonder, how does anyone find their purpose in life? How do people just walk around every day just knowing what to do? And while you sit and you wonder, you end up destroying your entire life. This is what happened to me. You wake up one day, and you ask for some help, you start picking up the pieces. And one of those pieces that you pick up just happens to be a fish tank. You think, I've had fish tanks before, I could do this again. So you set up that tank, and everything's going great. You got the most beautiful discus, and what happens? All those fish die. Everything dies. You sit here with your head in your hands, thinking, should I keep going? Maybe I'll give it one more go. So you give it one more go, and everything goes a lot better this time. Now you've learned a little bit, you've failed, and anyone that knows anything about success knows that it's built on failures. And you start thinking, maybe this purpose is something to do with fish tank. So you keep going, you push, you add more tanks. One tank becomes 3 tanks, becomes 5 tanks. You start getting into plants. You say, I'm gonna be an aquascaper. You start scaping tanks, and then you realize, I'm gonna run out of tanks. I can't scape a tank every day, but I love scaping tanks. So you decide to start a YouTube channel, and you realize pretty quickly that your videos are pretty bad. Some of these videos from 2 years ago still got 34 views. They're terrible. So you decide, I'm gonna do shrimp. So your 9 tanks becomes 15 10-gallon tanks on a big rack in your bedroom. You go to sleep at night listening to the sounds of bubbles and shrimp doing shrimp stuff. And you think, maybe I have an idea here. You start seeing dollar signs. I'm gonna get 100 tanks and start breeding a massive amount of shrimp. And then you realize that that's kind of boring. Sitting around watching the shrimp breed is really not as exciting as scaping a tank. So once again, you fall back into the pit of despair. How do these people find their purpose? And that's when you get an email about an aquascaping competition at your local fish store. You decide to join. Against all the voices in your head telling you there's gonna only be kids at this competition, you're not gonna win, people are gonna laugh at you, you join anyway. And it turns out there's a famous aquascaper there. So what do? You latch onto her. You start asking her questions. How did you do this? How did this become your career? And she tells you something that nobody else has said. She says, get involved in the community. Join your local fish club. Go to the shows. Do all the things. Don't just do the YouTube. And at the end of that day, you find out you won the whole competition. You came in first place at your first aquascaping competition. The owner of the store, he wants you to work at his store. Now you feel like you're hitting the big time. You put all your other stuff on hold, your own YouTube channel, and you start working with this local fish store, and then you start running their YouTube channel. And by now it's been about a year, and you've realized how to make videos a little bit better. So now you're posting videos for them, and they're getting 500 views, 1,000 views, 5,000 views. And man, you feel like you've figured this thing out. And then over time, as time goes on, you start to realize that you're not really living your own dream. You're kind of living somebody else's dream. You're running their things, you're making them money, things kind of start going downhill, and you feel once again like you're in a slump. You were looking for your purpose, and you ended up working for somebody else's purpose. That's when you get into the service side of their business. You start cleaning clients' tanks, you start realizing that, I'm not the biggest fan of cleaning my own tanks, but I really like cleaning other people's tanks. I like the end result. You feel accomplished. You feel like you're actually doing something. And eventually, this store closes down, and some of those clients, because they've seen how much you care about their tanks, they come to you, and they want you to clean their tanks. So what do? You form an LLC. You go online, you do the paperwork, takes a few hours, boom, you have an official company. Now you're back in it. You realize, maybe this was my purpose the whole time. Maybe cleaning dirty fish tanks is just the bread and butter that leads to all the bigger things. Now you've figured out what you should be doing. You've seen the industry, you've seen in the industry, you've seen how things are ordered, and you've seen the mistakes. You've learned what not to do. Somewhere along the way, you move in with your girlfriend and you tell her, I'm only bringing 3 tanks. 3 tanks, that's all I'm gonna bring. And what happens? You end up with 6 tanks in your tiny condo, with your aquarium service business running out of your tiny condo. You start building fish tanks on the porch, and suddenly you realize this is everything. It took 2 years. 2 years of work, of constant ups and downs, of falling into the bitter morass of self-despair. And you finally drug yourself out. And now you realize that there's a lot more work to be done. One client turns into 2 clients, and then word of mouth turns into 4 clients. Before you know it, your company is out of the red. You're actually making money while you're balancing your full-time career and a family life. You're doing all these things, and you decide, I'm gonna start doing YouTube again. We're gonna clean tanks that are 20 gallons. We're gonna clean tanks that are 750 gallons. Hopefully, we're gonna clean tanks that are 10,000 gallons. All the problems, all the mistakes we make, it's gonna be right out in the open. Because this is our purpose. And this is Everybody Aquatic.